Welcome, everyone. We want to discuss, as a continuation of where we started the last time, on examining extension policy in Nigeria and the Gambia. Today, we want to look at various aspects of this assessment. First of all, let's look at the national extension policy of Nigeria and Gambia. When we look at the national extension policy, in terms of concept, we mean policy form. We'll be looking at the components, the various components. Now, in terms of legislation, the extension policy in Nigeria and Gambia lack appropriate legislation. So it means there is no gazetted framework for the practice of extension in this country. But currently, Nigeria is making every effort to get a legislated framework. Currently, it's at the House of Assembly, and then efforts are being made to finally get the consent of the president to sign that of Nigeria. And then Gambia is also moving in the same direction. In terms of the policy form, provisional policy form, yeah, there is provisional policy form both in Nigeria and in the Gambia. Then the degrees and proclamations. Nigeria lack both degrees and proclamation. Gambia also lack both degrees and proclamation, extracted stroke implied. Both countries show a positive outcome, as we've seen over time. So from this policy, we can really discover that extension policies in two countries, we are very close similarities, but cannot be said to be the same. Let's compare extension policy in Nigeria and Gambia in terms of their mission and goals. Now, in terms of the missions and goals, we want to look at the components of agricultural development, and yes, both countries emphasize on agricultural development. In terms of human resource development, not much is being done in Nigeria from available literature when it comes to human resource development, but the Gambia is putting up very strong efforts in terms of human resource development. Sustainable agriculture and rural development, emphasis is more in Gambia, and then Nigeria is really emerging when it comes to sustainable agriculture and rural development. So what we're saying in effect is that with climate change emerging and then issues around climate smart agriculture, we've seen Nigeria, put up a very strong framework for sustainable agriculture and rural development. Improving profitability has a positive outlook both in Nigeria and the Gambia. Increasing volume has a positive outlook for the two countries. Now, provides stability, positive outlook for the two countries. But when it comes to non-monetary extension practice is seriously not monetized, strongly run by the government, although effort is being made now to open up the system for private sector to participate actively in those two countries. But then currently, the two countries are currently non-monetized. So it's good that we ensure that extension pays attention to environmental sustainability as an integral part of the mission and goals. And then it will not just help to realize enhanced productivity and profitability for poor farmers, but it will also assist in preserving the natural resource base upon which the aggregate livings of these farmers mostly depend. So we now look at extension in these two countries in terms of approaches and functions. In terms of approaches and functions. Now, in terms of pluralistic extension provider, is a yes for Nigeria, a no for Gambia. Ministry-based, not practiced in Nigeria, not practiced in Gambia. Decentralization, yes in Nigeria, yes in Gambia. Of course, in Nigeria we have extension at the state level, we have the extension at the zonal level, we have the block, we have the cell, the cell group. The privatization is of course, yes for the two countries, gradually picking up, contracting in and out. It's a positive yes for Nigeria, but then negative for Gambia. Cost sharing is not practiced by any of the two countries. Demand-driven participatory approach is being practiced by both Nigeria and Gambia. Free for services is also partially being practiced, given that government is offsetting the cost of extension services in these countries. The train and visit system is no longer on in Nigeria, it's no longer on in the Gambia. Then ICT, the use of ICT is really coming up in Nigeria so much more. There is an increase in the use of digital tools. Digitalization is really growing in Nigeria and in the Gambia. Then farm field schools is also on in both countries. Projects extension is carrying out projects in Nigeria through the ADP. Little is being done in the Gambia. The commodity specialized. Extension in Nigeria does not focus on commodity, but in Gambia there is specialization along commodity line. Let's say something about pluralism, because it's an approach that recognizes the important distinctions existing among farmers' needs and requirements, and farming systems, and the inevitability to address these variations by means of diverse methodologies, services, and service providers. With the embrace of pluralism, farmers enjoy access to broadened collection of service options, thereby resulting in value-added quality of services to farmers. So that's why pluralism is very important. In terms of decentralization, is another strategy widely practiced as part of reforming extension in the two countries. The most common use of decentralization retains the public sector and the public funding features of traditional centralized extension, but redistributes responsibility for extension delivery and reassigns it to local, districts, and or countries or governments. Now, key inherent challenges of decentralization, however, are lack of financial sustainability, the propensity to use extension agents for jobs outside their responsibility, and the trouble in linking with research. You sometimes even see extension agents being forced to go into politics in some of these countries because of decentralization. See various state governments engaging extension workers in areas that are not their core, that is not their main duties and responsibilities. That's very important that we note that as we discuss the approaches and functions of extension in Nigeria and in the Gambia. Possibly that is where we'll be ending this particular session of our discussion. Um, then going out. Okay, but let's not end it that way. Let's look at the clientele of extension systems in Nigeria and the Gambia. The clientele. Now, women are both stakeholders, and then they are both customers and receiving services both in Nigeria and in the Gambia. In Nigeria, extension is not doing much for the youth, but in Gambia, force is being placed on youth. For farmers organization, both Nigeria and Gambia are making every effort to focus on farmers organizations, agricultural cooperative associations. Then small scale farmers are also giving attention in both countries. Medium scale farmers are giving attention in both countries. Large scale farmers, except when these farmers, these large scale farmers purposely or intentionally consult extension, not much is being seen to be going on by extension for large scale farmers in these countries. Then for the landless farmers, extension is relatively doing nothing for them in both in Nigeria and in Gambia. Then the specific commodity farmers, also not much is being done by extension both in Nigeria and in Gambia for these people. In conclusion, we are trying to again state that majority of the West African states, including Nigeria and the Gambia, do not have official extension policies, and this is very important that we note it. they do not have official extension policy, and it's good that one be established, to foster effective extension practice. Then the missions of most West African extension, like Nigeria and the Gambia, focus on agricultural and human resource development. That's where we end this session. In the next class, we will continue as we compare extension systems in the Asian region. Use all the available channels for your feedback, or when we meet physically in the class, we will continue to receive your questions. Thank you.